Okay. We are streaming loud. Recording is in progress.
Everybody ready to begin? Take that as a yes. Welcome everybody to the joint budget and council budget or council budget workshop for April 4th. It's 6:30 and Noah, would you call the roll, please?
Jim Jenks,
Here.
Dina Allard,
Here.
Fiona Pearson, John Walsh,
Here.
Patricia Kramer, Greg Wolf,
Here.
David Belver,
Here.
and John Mylone.
Here.
And Peter Talbot is absent.
Thanks, Noah. You want to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Republic stands under God,
Liberty.
All right, so tonight we are covering Park and Rec, pool, arts place, town manager, town council, and I think a couple other items too, right, Sean?
That's correct. Yeah, human resources, and that should round out the evening for today.
Okay. Where should we be looking for Park and Rec in the books?
Sure. So yeah, we'll just by way of a brief introduction, we'll be starting with recreation, as we discussed earlier on in the process. This year, new to this budget year, Arts Place is being moved under the Recreation Department, Leisure Services Department, was formerly under Library. And we'll have a PowerPoint presentation. We'll go in order of recreation, pool, Arts Place, and then on to the others. That will be kind of the bulk of the conversation tonight. But Leisure Services starts on page 169, so really 171 of the horizontal detail line book. And we'll be, going through some of those maybe after the presentation. And joined with me here is John Golick, our Director of Parks and Recreation, Sheila Adams, the Director of the Pool, Community Pool. We have Elizabeth Main, Program Supervisor for Recreation, and also Joanne Polarczyk of Arts Place. And of course, everyone knows Jim Jasna. So without further ado, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to John for the presentation. And if we coordinated this correctly, Elizabeth will be able to share her screen for the presentation as we go forward. And just, a quick note as we go through this, at this stage in the process, not uncommon, we have a few kind of budget amendments, if you will, that we'll be proposing. We're about a month after my initial budget proposal. We've had some additional conversations, which is totally normal to the process, around some of one particular cut that I made to temporary part-time budget that the department would like to see restored, but they have some offsetting cuts to offer up, actually in excess of what I cut. So again, just for the folks kind of through this process for the first time, we haven't had necessarily one of those conversations just yet in the other departments, but this will be a first chance to kind of go through that. So don't be surprised. So I guess without further ado, I'll kick it over to John and
Sure.
We'll take it away.
Good evening, everyone.
Thanks.
Ready to go? So I do want to thank Elizabeth. Elizabeth put a lot of work in putting together all these slides after a couple of lengthy informational meetings with our staff and putting this program together. So I want just to highlight our year and some of the major points of the Park and Rec operation, including the pool. Here we go. Next slide. And I'm not going to read each slide and go over each one, but it's just kind of there to provide you with an overview. And if you needed a print copy, or we could email this presentation to you at a later date, certainly let us know if you'd like to have that copy. Next slide is our recreation department, our regular full-time, part-time staff, laid out there with Park and Rec staff, now the Arts Place staff, along with the aquatic staff. So an overview. We plan and implement hundreds of programs, services, special events. We coordinate field rentals, park rentals, pavilion rentals. We manage the seasonal Mixville Pass program from Memorial Day to Labor Day at Mixville. We have under our stewardship the youth center, the community pool, now Arts Place ball and socket, all the town parks, recreation areas, open space. We schedule and permit Board of Education athletic fields, and obviously we report monthly to the 7-member Park and Rec Commission. Little video. Okay. It did have some music going along with it, but some technical difficulties. The Cheshire Park side change.
And these are some of the facilities, just to give a quick overview of the town. I'm sure you've seen plenty of these spaces already.
Those.
So the piece that you're gonna miss is a fun shrieking chicken at one point. So I'm sorry that you guys are missing out on that part.
We'll be sure to send a link to the audio. as
Yes.
well, 'cause you should enjoy the shrieking chicken.
I'm sorry, that's all of our spaces.
Okay. Next up, part-time staff, seasonal staff. Just to kind of give you an overview of how it's all spread out and under whose direction. The programs and our program coordinator and our therapeutic and special event coordinator.
Excuse me, Sean, I'm having, I don't know if other people are, I'm having a tough time hearing. I got my volume all the way up on my computer. I don't know if they can move the microphone a little closer.
Can you hear me, John? Don?
Yeah, now I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. The video didn't have any audio, so that was just a kind of like a silent movie. All right, so just another chart. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I guess I hate these Zoom meetings. I wish we weren't Zooming because it's just hard to hear, but I'll do the best I can. Yeah, I'll follow along at least.
Sure. That just gives you an idea of some pie charts of our temporary staff and how it's all spread out. We have another video coming up. This one going to have audio or not?
If I stop sharing quickly, I can pull the audio. You ready to do that?
Sure. Special events and highlighting some of. What's that?
No.
We're ready?
Sure. Is anyone speaking? I can't hear anything.
No, we were just waiting for Elizabeth just to readjust her audio.
Gotcha.
So the slide before that is the MyRack.
This is my record.
What is that?
I'm sharing the wrong screen then?
Yeah.
Are you sharing one there, Jim?
So, just bear with us for a second, please.
Yep.
Thank you. So that was an overview and a highlight of all of our great special events and big programs that we put on throughout the course of the year. Another major implementation was the new software merging from RecTrack to MyRec, and incorporates all the divisions, Park and Rec, the Aquatics Division, Arts Place, and also Human Social Services. It's still a work in progress. Elizabeth is putting or scrolling through a video. If you haven't had the opportunity to be on it, or you'd like to stop by the office someday and just learn more about it, we're using it exclusively with all the youth leagues in the high school for our field cancellations with alerts, announcements, text blasts, email blasts. It's a game changer. And you can see all the different programs. There's a lot of information, things that can now live 24/7. Elizabeth's done a really great job with coordinating with all the different divisions. We do hold monthly meetings, and we also include Public Works because they're going to have a big role with this, with field maintenance and the facility schedule portion of it, and the calendar for maintenance of regular athletic fields, pavilion use rentals, and then also support of our special events and what needs to go on. So the communication is second to none, and like I said, it's a game changer for us. So move on to the next slide. Bartlett Beats. We did put it out to bid for 1 year for the stage, sound, and the lighting production. Because we're not going to be able to have it this summer for the new band show. That'll be next year. So the previous bid had expired, so we went out to bid. We thought it was going to come in at $41,000. The bid actually came in at $35,000. So that's some money that we're going to be able to reduce our budget by at least $6,000. We've started our sponsorship solicitation. That number is now, to date, is $92.50. And we have commitments from 3 other organizations in town. So we should probably be close to the 2024 collected $10,500, if not more. And then over on to the right side are some of the businesses and organizations that have that make up that $92.50. So we're appreciative of that. The Bartlett Beats picture there kind of just shows you what the different sponsorship opportunities are that exist. And that's it. Next slide. Program updates, therapeutic programs, the basketball program we made major changes to. We had a successful season. The MyRec software allowed us to put practice schedules, game schedules, rosters, a lot of information for families to easily pick up, coaches to get information, weekly standings and results. We had a good season with that. Some new programs and events for that occurred in 2024, including some coding classes with the Coder School, Ninja Fit, Medicare, grandparents getting started by Safe Sitter, new program, new special event, puzzle competition, You Are My Sunshine Dance, and so on. Some things that are work in progress. Bartlett South, Phase 1. I know that Sean gives monthly reports on that project, and it's going excellent. We're looking to also open up the athletic field, the turf field portion of it. We're hoping by April 15th if things come in alignment with fees, some signage, and some policies and rules. We don't need to have that right away with our youth lacrosse program because they'll be the primary users, but certainly by midsummer, we're going to need that information in place. The next slide, Mixville Master Plan. So the plan that you see before you is a plan that Public Works and Engineering have modified from the master plan that we put together a couple years ago. I know that they've commenced working out there for that fourth row of parking and reorganizing everything else. We did work with Andrew Martelli with a Connecticut Deep grant for some of the boardwalking and some other things that are part of that special event, maybe including a fishing pier and going around the fishing pond. One item though that's come up that we'll have to talk about if it's not here or at the Capitol meeting is the blocks. The blocks that separate the swimming pond and the fishing pond. We've had some ATV damage and I think some storm erosion that's contributed to that, making it difficult to pass through. Now, I've talked to Greg Wolf about this, something that that's on our radar that we're going to need to address. Next slide. Pickleball conversion. You'll see there's the rule signage we put up last summer, and at the request of a lot of Cheshire pickleball players, they wanted some sort of a system with the paddle holders that they have in other places that they play, so that they can structure and organize play, and people are not hogging the courts and not moving. So the kind of self-policing, for the most part, it's worked out. In my capital budget, I know that it's been a hot topic. We've also included some money in a proposal to convert one of the tennis courts into 2 pickleball courts, going in the same north-south orientation, keeping the same specifications. So if we wanted to run a tournament, they're equal to the size and tournament play of the other 6 that currently exist. McNamara dugouts. This is kind of like a 2-year project, working with Cheshire Youth Baseball exclusively and Ironworkers. All 3 groups, including the town, work together. All 4 fields, first base and third base, have new steel dugouts paid for by the town and donations through Cheshire Youth Baseball. And Public Works was instrumental in offloading those from the delivery trucks and then placing them on the field this past winter. Through this in here, the Connecticut NEMBA, the Yankee Highlands, just as a placeholder. I know that the Connecticut NEMBA and NEMBA did meet recently at a council meeting, but something that we're excited and looking forward to being a part of. Next slide. So this is not the name of it, but I threw it on there because it's growing some traction. Recently, we've decided to, with some of the Cheshire residents that are spearheading the proposal of a disc golf course coming to Cheshire. If you recall, some of you remember that we were real hot and heavy about bringing one to Mixville. Mixville has a lot of challenges because of the variety of use and the volume of visitors at the park. And while it was a good idea, and maybe making it happen, Cheshire Park, after we toured the trails there, provide a much better suitable location. We don't have the fee structure. We don't have to compete with 2 major pavilions, a water course, regular visitors hiking on the trails. So we've had a series of meetings since last December. There's a resident, Sam Kaplowitz, and there's a resident, Natalie DiNatale, who were kind of spearheading this. We've met with the environmental planner. We've met with the town planner. Well, we've talked it over with the Environment Commission and Karen Snitzer. Karen actually did a presentation at one of our recent rec commission meetings because she had some concerns environmentally out there. We did meet with her, with the Cheshire group, with the town planner and her, walk the locations because she was concerned about preserving the American chestnut saplings that are out there on the south portion once you get into the trail system, and these scarlet tanager nesting areas that are up on the east side ridge inside there. So the next steps are Mike Litt and Mike Strollo gave us the green light to start staking out a course so that we can GPS a map. And then we'll all go out there for a final review to make sure that it's in compliance. And then another portion of a capital item includes money for tee pads, baskets for 18 holes, and some signage and a kiosk. I've been meeting regularly with some of the folks from the Pollinator Pathways. They're very interested in doing a garden at this particular location at Mixville, just before, at the entrance, just before the guardhouse. I don't have a mechanism on my budget, but I just wanted to kind of put this out there so that as you're going through all these, perhaps this can get some consideration and some money can be found somewhere to maybe help them out with this project. This is a copy of the budget that they had submitted to me for their overall costs. splash pad. It's moving right along. It's at a concept stage, and I think at some point we'll be seeing a full concept coming out. I'm sure that you'll be getting a presentation either from myself or Andrew Martelli in the near future as it goes out to bid for construction at some point in the next month or two, and construction hopefully in the fall after Labor Day, after the summer use of the pool. The skate park. I know I've put it in my capital budget the last couple of years. The surface is in its 21st year. The ramps that exist are in its 21st year. I'm looking to add a new surface and some ramps that kind of complement what's already there. That gives you an idea of the price. And if you look at the picture on the bottom side to the right, on either end, those would be the new ramps that kind of coordinate and kind of work with some sort of a synergy to the center pieces and other pieces that already exist. Eagle Scout projects. We had a couple of major ones completed by Jacob Jolowicz, who did the equipment boxes at Field 1, 2, and 3 at Cheshire Park. Those are the pictures to the right side of the slide. And then Eagle Scout Dylan Dyer recently completed the pedestrian bridge at Mixville Park in the area of the large pavilion fire pit as you go into the woods and access the trail system in the back portion of Mixville. Okay, maybe pause it there. We can get into our budget. Just kind of a quick overview. As Sean alluded to, there were just a couple items that he had changed. One was the part-time temporary staff. Because of minimum wage increases and because of the things that we wanted to do, I had spoken with him and hoping that we could preserve that. With our new webpage and the ability to access social media, the announcements, the emails, we're looking to maybe just pivot and not do a program brochure and mail it out to 19,000 homes. We could save on the production. We could save on the postage. Kind of as a swap that I guess you guys can decide and grapple with. But talking internally and talking with Sean, we think this could be a good point to maybe really maximize the use of the webpage and not do a print brochure 3 times a year. You know, environmentally, it's better. For us, things could live longer. We can make appropriate changes on the fly. We don't have to worry about, oh, we sent out the brochure and, you know, we have all these changes. Make better use of technology that we're trying to build out.
Yeah, so just to orient folks real quick, on page 173, the temporary part-time line that John is referring to, that 5104 line, TPT, you'll see the department request was $350,000. In some of my last final cuts to the budget, I had cut that back by $20,000. So as I said at the outset of the meeting, they'd like to see that restored, and I support restoring that to the 350 as requested. But again, as John said, if we're able to move away from the print brochure and focus on an electronic version and blast version through MyRec, the website, and then also the 6,000 saved from Bartman Beats. I think you come up with about $32,000 that we can reduce.
So the seasonal brochures is $21,300 for production. The postage 3 times a year totals about $5,600. So that's a total of $26,918, and then you're getting another $6,000 for the public bid reduction for the Bartman Beats. So yeah, so about almost $33,000.
So again, we can discuss that now or later. We'll put it as a placeholder. Again, as you know, through the process, we add up additions and subtractions and start to build them into the mill rate calculator as we hone in on a final number as we start wrapping up the budget presentations. The department's really following tonight's meeting. So.
And then one other question I had, because I had spoken to Arnett about it, is legal notices. You know, you'll notice that we have $3,000 for legal notices for two items. The ice cream vending bid that expires this December, so we'll have to do one next year. Like $1,300 just to put it in the paper for one time, for 1 week. And then with the band shell coming online for 2025, we won't need the stage because we have it, but we'll still need to go out for lighting and sound services. So that'll be another bid, which I hopefully do a 2 or 3, like a multi-year bid. But we're gonna have to do another legal notice for that too. And it just seems like a lot of money for an advertisement for 2 weeks for 2 items. So perhaps maybe there's another way of doing that, and there's another savings of $3,000. That really is it, unless anybody else has any questions, because everything else was pretty static with the town manager's review of our budget. If not, then we can get into the pool and then Arts Place and then come back, or how would you want to handle it?
I think maybe if anyone has questions for John now, I think we should probably handle it one at a time.
Okay.
So Dina, I see you raising your hand. Go ahead.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for that information. I have a couple of questions. First, regarding the disc golf, is that already in the budget? Would that be in the capital budget somewhere that I'm not seeing it in the horizontal version? I just wondered, are those expenses already factored in for this fiscal year?
No, it's not. It's a proposal for this year and this year's capital budget.
Okay, so it is in the capital budget.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just didn't see it there. Okay, and then I have another question for you, John. I understand that there is some concern in the community about the allocation of fields for baseball. And I was just hoping you can provide an explanation regarding what is the normal protocol for that, and maybe a little background information on what's being done regarding that.
Sure. So annually, 2 times, once in the spring, for spring athletics and summer athletics, I have a field meeting either at the end of January or February. I invite all the organizations. It's a couple of nights, some for diamond fields, which are baseball, softball, and another night that's for the multi-use rectangular, which includes lacrosse, football, rugby, and anything else that people want to access fields. The premise of the meeting is to lay it out, have everybody come to the table, work together, and try to hammer out what the equitable distribution is. For the most part, we haven't had anybody or any groups competing for the same types of facilities. So if you fast forward to recent times, we had the issue with Cheshire Youth Baseball and Cheshire Aviators, which we had a meeting last night, and I think that we came to an amicable agreement after grinding it out, looking at taking a little bit more of a deeper dive at the appropriate numbers at different age groups to match it up with some of the requests that people are making. We do have an issue that's going to be looming with fields. Prior to me coming to Cheshire, the rec commission and some of the old timers would tell me that, Norton School had 2 fields, Highland School had 2 fields, Doolittle School had 2 fields. The Darcy Field was so-so. Chapman had 3 fields. When I got here, we weren't even using Chapman. We weren't even using Norton. So there's 5 fields. We were only using 1 field at Highland, and we were only using 1 field at Doolittle. So we've reclaimed the Doolittle Field, the Highland Field. Public Works worked masterfully last year in the spring and in the fall, created 2 new fields, or reclaimed the 2 fields at Chapman. So we're still not there yet. We did lose one small diamond and 1 big diamond with the Bartlam Park project. But when we went through the public engagement and we went through with all the different youth groups and sat down with them to write out hours for practices and games, you know, if we had these school fields in game-ready condition, we were able to support and handle all that. So we're still not there yet. The Aviators have experienced some great growth. There's probably been some redistribution of kids from CYB, but CYB still has a large Reds program of the 8U Reds, the 9U Reds, the 10U Reds, the 11U Reds, the 12U Reds. So it was a little bit of a hard thing at the last minute to kind of pivot and try to have organizations change what they're used to. So now that we've kind of ripped the Band-Aid and we have this standing agreement now, I think moving forward, it'll be easier now that we're a little bit more informed of what each group needs and represents, and just going to have to take it season by season. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. And do you feel that the distribution and the availability is fair amongst the youth community who wants to use the fields? Do you feel that it's a good resolution that you were able to come up with last night?
I think in the short term, yes.
Okay.
In the short term, yes. As far as all the other activities and all the other organizations, there haven't been any complaints.
Okay.
You know, I think that once we get Bartlett South going for lacrosse, and once the lights and we get full service of that particular facility, you know, we're going to start for the multi-use areas. We're going to be able to see some flexibility scheduling wise, because you'll be able to schedule, take care of the sub-varsity athletics after school, the youth leagues at dinner time, and then you have that whole section from 8 o'clock to I think 10:30. You know, that third section, 7 days a week with the lights. You know, right now you got Cheshire Rugby playing on a farm field, on an open field up at Mixville. So these things will be able to come here. We're given a curveball this week from the Board of Education that they're going to be putting in a portable at Highland. So, you know, starting on June 17th, we're not going to have access to that field, which typically we rely on, you know, throughout the summer. And, you know, I don't know if it's going to be ready. It's supposed to be ready for the fall school start, but I don't know if the field, because of some of the things that have to go on with site work and an access road, are going to take up part of the field. And do we have the mechanism and the time and the funds to move that field out a little bit so that that area can still be a field? For me, we need to have it in the inventory. Or else it kind of exasperates some of our field issues.
And if I could just add briefly, and I know we talked about it during the Public Works presentation, but you know, this is one of the reasons that I recommended, one of the very few positions I added to this budget was a 6th parks maintainer. I know that's fully supported by the Parks Department, the Recreation Commission, because you know, managing all of these fields, especially those on the school property, is, you know, very labor intensive. They may be on school property, but we maintain the infield and drag them and make sure the bases and mounds are all you know, appropriate. In the summer, we take care of all of the mowing of the grass on all the school properties. So just, you know, to be clear, you know, when I started here, we had just the 4 parks maintainer positions, which really was just barely enough to do all of our town parks. That's why these fields that John referenced at the schools, and when I say fields, really the infields of the Diamonds, weren't being maintained as well. They weren't being maintained by the schools because they have no need to. They don't use them for the Diamond sports, and the town takes over and maintains those fields for these town and local athletic groups. So as the need has expanded, it's not just the availability of the square footage of the space, it's having the staff to maintain it. And so, you know, I do hope we're able to see fit to adding that 6th parks maintainer position as we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
John, Peter wanted me to pass along his thanks to you for deftly handling the baseball field issue, by the way. So before we move off of that topic, I want to make sure I said that.
Sure.
Did anyone else have questions for John? John, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to echo my thanks to you, John, too, for handling that last night. And I want to remind people to be a little bit more civil, whether they're on social media or sending emails to us. I felt some of the emails went a little bit too far. We want to try to work with everybody in this town as best we can. And sometimes when you get negative, it doesn't help anybody. So I appreciate all you went through, John, and the rest of the people who helped come up with a solution for that. I just had a question. Do we use Mixville? They have a baseball field too. Do we use that at all?
So when I came here, there was just a backstop, and there was no resemblance of any infield whatsoever. And that whole area down is kind of like concave and holds a lot of water. When we get any of these rainstorms, there's standing water there for days. I know back in the day they used to, but I don't know what.
Okay, so it's really not usable then.
It's not, and Don, also keep in mind, I think what we're excited about.
Unless we can get a good drainage there, but.
Sorry, I was just going to say that also, if you recall, the Mixville plan.
What's that?
The Mixville plan is to take part of that outfield and turn it into an ice rink area that again,
part of that, yeah.
The added water actually helps us in the area, but
so,
yeah, the topography is not good for a baseball field there.
So I would remind everybody then, when we are trying to figure out once the new school's open, what we're going to do with Chapman. If we decide to sell that property or move that property, that's a couple more fields that we could lose. So it may be perhaps a place where we could add fields instead of losing fields. So that's something that I would like to think about for the coming future, because obviously there is a need for this. I was surprised to hear how many were in each group. There's a lot involved. And I was a baseball kid myself, and I had baseball, and I'm glad to see that there are still a lot of kids wanting to play that game. So, I would just say, let's just remember, we don't want to get rid of any more fields. We may need to add some fields somewhere.
So one thing that's adding to this also is that prior to me coming here, my daughter was part of the Cheshire Flames for 7 years, and Cheshire Youth softball, their numbers like 7 years ago were in the 20s. It was on life support, so there really wasn't a rec softball. It was more of a travel presence. That's flipped because now there's almost 200 girls playing youth softball, in addition to the rebranded Flame to now the Charge. So fields that baseball or CYB would normally use at Cheshire Park because of the skinned infield. Skinned infield means it's devoid of the grass, like baseball. They're occupying the space. So you do have more kids on the boys' side and the girls' side playing. So that's contributing to this overall field picture, Dina, that you were talking about or asking about.
Yep. One additional thing, if you don't mind, Sean, I noticed you took 20,000 out of their summer help, and I know it was you had to add to it because of minimum wage going up. But by taking 20,000 out, is that what it? How many positions is that, and is that something that you can deal with, John?
Yeah, well, I can. That was the one I was referencing at the beginning. That after we went back through another time and looked at really the compounding impact of minimum wage. And remember, we also have to estimate for a minimum wage. We don't know what the number is going to be until they announce it in the middle of October, effective January 1st.
Okay.
There's now an indexing the minimum wage.
I'm sorry if you went through it. Just to be honest with you, the sound has been very spotty.
Okay. Yeah, understood. But yeah, that's the one we'd like to see restored, is the short answer. So the 350.
Okay, thank you.
John, go ahead, John, then.
I think Fiona had her hand up. She can go ahead of me. That's fine.
Okay. Fiona, go ahead.
Thank you, John. I actually have to leave in a minute, but John Golick, I just wanted to thank you for all of your work and for your strong mediation skills that have been demonstrated quite clearly these last few days, particularly. But not only there, but you've worked tirelessly with a number of groups of town. I've been watching you over the last few years, you know, working with the Environment Commission, working with the Energy Commission. And so I thank you for your time and energy on all those fronts. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify what John was just talking about. So was it line 5204 under the program materials that you were proposing actually cutting to be able to supplement instead the summertime help? I just wanted to clarify where you were looking to do the switch. Was that the
5207.
program materials?
Oh, it's in the administration section, 5207.
5207. Okay, thank you. I just wanted that clarification. Thank you.
John, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
go
fine. So I had a bunch of stuff, unfortunately. I try and go as fast as I can. Following up on what Dina had initiated and Don spoke about as well. Both Dave Veliber and I attended that meeting yesterday, and there's a lot more in play here than just scheduling of fields. But in terms of different approaches to how certain people want to approach youth sports, et cetera, particularly with baseball, and maybe some bad blood that's been developed there, and that's unfortunate. Hopefully it doesn't. We talked about it last night. Hopefully it doesn't continue to kind of move down to the children themselves, because it wasn't helpful, quite frankly. But that having been said, there was a solution that was generated last night, which was for 1 year. It did identify, to me anyway, just looking at it, the stress that John's under in trying to support all of the various athletic activities that are going on, not only for baseball, but for the other activities as well, soccer, lacrosse, et cetera. I think personally that, and we talked a little bit afterwards about the fact that there's going to be continued growth, and while there's growth in the schools, there's other children that are going to probably be increased activity in youth sports, et cetera. It will be a pressure point for the town, and there'll be more stress and frustration if we don't get ahead of it as quickly as possible. I would like to see the council initiate some type of a planning activity in concert with, of course, Park and Rec and maybe Public Works and, of course, the town manager's office, to really identify where we're going to expand our fields, whether it's reusing existing fields more effectively or identifying locations for new fields, and begin to really be more serious about committing to those investments. Maybe can't do it this fiscal year, but hopefully we can plan this fiscal year, whether that's part of the planning committee or it's a separate subcommittee. Peter's not here obviously this evening, but this is something that I would strongly recommend that the council advance and we get ahead of it. Because it's not something John could do on his own, Public Works can do on his own. If it's a commitment to buy land, to expand fields, et cetera, it's going to require council involvement. That's why I'd like to see the council be part of this planning effort. And I think we should move on it as quickly and as aggressively as possible. That's just a statement and a recommendation. John, I don't know how you feel. I don't expect you to respond or Sean, but if you have an opinion, that's fine. But I think if we don't do this, John's going to be under continued pressure. So.
Yeah, understood, John. I'll just say briefly that I totally support it, and also think it ties into other conversations. If you remember, whether it's Bartlum Park, kind of phase 2, right? That some of the issues we have are existing grass fields. We know we took a 90-foot baseball diamond offline to replace it with a turf field. Once that comes online, it obviously helps, as John mentioned before, with a lot of our rectangle sports in particular, or potentially baseball as well. But some of those other fields are very unplayable after even moderate rain, particularly where lacrosse used to play in the back. We had phase 2 of Bartland Park's master plan included improved, or the addition of adequate drainage for those fields to make them more usable, which would go a very long way. Because part of what happens is places get squeezed, leagues get squeezed by lengthy cancellations with fields that don't drain well. But we also have the 2 new school projects, and so we know that the school building committee is planning for flat green spaces, but whether those are turned into soccer fields or they're turned into baseball diamonds ultimately is a decision for the council to decide. And that's another opportunity, kind of consistent with what you're saying, John, that we have level flat grass areas or infield areas planned. We need to bring those online, and that will also go a long way.
Yeah, I agree with Sean. There's a lot of identified opportunities here where we're going to potentially lose fields. As Don said, maybe at Chapman, maybe we won't lose them. Maybe there's an opportunity, or we're going to gain potential areas for fields. But in isolation, they're all kind of opportunities, but I think they need to be kind of combined together into a cohesive plan that we all agree on, that will require some investment that I think the council needs to be supportive of as to where the priorities are, where we need to. For instance, we know there's land near the prison that the town has access to that requires effort to build fields. People have talked about fields there for a while. Are we going to commit to doing something there? We're going to let that sit there, or do we need it? I mean, is it $1 million project? Is it $10 million project? I don't even know. But I think all of that should be part of one cohesive, comprehensive kind of evaluation that everyone is comfortable, makes sense over the next, say, 5 years in terms of expanding the fields to support the growth that is clearly going to continue to happen, and to get rid of the stress that's going to continue. So I just like to see us be more deliberate about not just looking at individual spots and how we could fix them, but have more of a cohesive plan on this. And that's just a recommendation. And I'd like to see the council take initiative on that. Having said that, I just have a question about the disc golf. I don't know much about disc golf. It might be great and everything else, but as I look at the town and opportunities, that area in the back of Cheshire Park is fairly substantial. Maybe it's not flat. Maybe some of it's flat. I mean, that could have much more significant potential in terms of use if we wanted to make an effort to use it. And I'm not sure if someone wants to use it for anything else, whether that's good for athletic fields, et cetera. I know at one time it was looked at as a potential location for a middle school. So there's a substantial amount of land back there. If we go ahead with disc golf, I mean, and then we decide that we need that land for something else, is that going to be problematic? I mean, have we decided that that's the right location for disc golf, and then we're never going to do anything else back there? Because it's a lot of land and it's valuable. I just want to make sure we're not kind of just being nearsighted in putting something back there. That's all.
John, when you say a lot of land, there's the goat pasture that's flat, but other than that, it's all wooded, and it's between 2 ridges. There's a lot of different elevations there.
There's a lot of elevation. It would require a lot of earthwork, but it was evaluated and actually had the ability to support a complete middle school with parking, et cetera, when you moved earth around. So there's a lot of land back there, John. It may not appear to be that usable, but it is. I'm not suggesting we do anything back there. I'm just suggesting we should not just minimize the potential of that land and commit to something that someone would be offended if we needed that land for something else in the future. That's all. I question the very limited use in what is potentially a substantial piece of property. That's all.
Yeah, no, we can certainly debate that and talk about it and make sure that that's what we want to do.
The good news is, I would just say, is that good disc golf, as opposed to obviously regular golf,
Right.
is very low sort of impact. It's really just setting up a small box where people throw the frisbee from, and then through the trees and woods, the disc golf collection basket. Thank you. And those could be, again, they're not hard to uproot and move somewhere else if you decided you had a better purpose for it. So it's not like you're taking trees down and you're clearing whole paths. It's actually kind of designed. They like the trees as sort of an obstacle and a pathway around the course. So it's pretty minimal in terms of the effort to construct the disc golf.
That's fine. So that could be a temporary use, and people would understand if there's a more substantial use in the future, there wouldn't be people wouldn't be insulted or offended by that.
So it's a low-cost investment. And those baskets and the tee pads can be reused.
Okay. I'm just raising the question to make sure, and that's fine if that's what it is. I have no objection to disc golf. I mean, I'm sure it's fun. I just know there's, if we're looking for town resources, I want to make sure we just use them as wisely as possible. The other thing you didn't mention at all, and I'm not sure, I didn't look at the capital plan, are we doing anything with the Lot 12 structure? I keep on mentioning that it was deteriorated. What did we decide to do with that? Is there any decision?
There's
With
not.
are you talking about the pavilion?
Yeah, did you take it down? I haven't been there in a while.
No, it's not been taken down. The council supported moving forward with keeping or restoring it, and that, as I understand, it's still in the design phases, so to speak, of what the final repairs are going to be. But Public Works and Engineering have that on their list of structures to be evaluating and come up with the final cost proposal.
There should be though a meeting regarding the museum. The museum hasn't been open since I've been here. That's 5 years, and probably before that as well. And
we'll be talking about that at the next council meeting, as we have a grant that we've received and some recommendations for restoring the lock itself, some reappointing, some signage, and potentially some work for the museum as well.
So Sean, you said though the council has, I can't remember that, they're going to at least restore the pavilion then at Lot 12, then that's part of.
That was, we had a decision point, gosh, probably 2+ years ago at least, whether we wanted to take it down or invest money in restoring it. And the direction was given to not take it down and to focus on restoring it. And so I think that's just in the queue along with a number of other things. So I'll follow up with where it stands and what the timeline is.
That's good. No, that's just a question. And then I said it at Public Works. I'll just remind here so it's on everybody's radar. I don't want to lose sight of the need to budget for repaving our trail in some logical form and fashion over the next few years, because that's a major investment that if we don't maintain it will become problematic. And then my only last question, John, on your budget. So your non-salary budget is up like almost 12%. It's up, it looks like $50,000. And I can't figure out what it's for. Why is it up so much?
So you're talking about the part-time staff?
No, the non-salary portion of the budget.
Oh.
So you go from 450 to 500. That's almost it's 11.6% increase. I'm just curious. I can't figure it out. It looks like there's 30,000 in contractual services, but I just can't. Maybe you can just explain, what the bulk of that is, just to understand where it's coming from.
So in program services, there is an increase there of about $10,000. Some of it was new programs that have been added, so it's still like people providing services, but it's not our own staff. So we did a basketball clinic that cost close to $3,000 to put on. We're increasing our camp orientation. We've got a new person who's going to do some team building and help get all of the younger staff on board with the mission better and just developing a newer culture out at camp. Then also with the new John G. Martin Foundation building, we have to have some mats out there and some cleaning supplies because so that's a rental program that we have. And our guests at camp, both at the therapeutic camp and the Mixville Adventure Camp, we're coming in with higher prices, and we're also offering 8 weeks of camp this year, and I anticipate we'll need to do it again next year because of the way the summer break falls, so to provide services there. You'll also notice that our revenue we're projecting to go up because of those additional weeks of camp. So that may help with some of that.
And then also, John, in the celebrations contractual services line, the 5408, we put in for the full amount for the Barnum South concerts. But we use the sponsorship funds, the proceeds, to back that out. So there is sometimes a surplus or money left over because we don't know what we're going to get for sponsorships. If we don't get it, then we're not producing a concert. So there's going to be some money back for that too. And don't forget, we're going to reduce it by 6,000 just by the production bid, and probably could reduce it by another 8,000 or 9,000 once we get the sponsorships all wrapped up. So there's 15,000 coming off of that 79,000.
Okay.
That brings us close to what we were appropriated the year before.
No, those all helped me. I just couldn't find where those increases were coming. Now I understand them a little bit, and that's helpful. Did Power Station still win the bid? I'm just curious.
Yes.
Did anyone else bid, or did they?
There were two other New York companies.
Oh yeah.
And they were 3 times the amount of the cost.
Oh really?
There's actually one company that's moving from Poughkeepsie, New York, to Danbury because the climate to do business in Manhattan and down in New York City, just to obtain 72 permits to do different productions is costly, timely, and they're losing money. So they're trying to work their way back into Connecticut.
No, that's great. You have good, continuity there, and you got a better price, so it's awesome. Listen, I know I raised a lot of kind of picky points, but I do want to compliment you and your staff, everything you do. I mean, the Park and Rec and all the things you oversee in the town are, as others have said here already, are absolutely wonderful, and they really bring tremendous value to the town. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you answering some of those questions. Thank you.
Sure.
John, I appreciate your comments, John Malone, about the planning of the parks and space and stuff. That's certainly something I would support. I'm sure we all would support putting together a committee or something to begin to work toward that. It makes a lot of sense. So to John and to the Park and Rec staff, thank you guys earlier for the presentation of all the activities and stuff. It's easy for me anyway to forget all the different things that you guys do throughout the year. And it's a vast number of activities and camps and just things that enrich everyone's lives in the community. So thank you for all of that, and thank you for the reminder too. I wanted to just talk briefly about your plan to do away with the brochure. Is there any concern at all about that? About just removing the brochure altogether? I know, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to go online for sure, and most people are probably going to sign up that way anyway. But it's what people have been kind of used to for many years. I just wonder if you have any concerns about that kind of being a problem, or enrollment and things going down, or what you may have planned to if you do see things maybe not trending as well as they normally do, if what you might have planned to counteract that.
So I'm a tactile person, so I do like getting a brochure, and I'm sure some people do. I just know from my own personal things that I get to my house, there's less and less of catalogs and paper. Everything's more online. I think for us, we could reclaim some staff time from the production and then going through all that and then the whole mailing process. I think that with Canva and the web page and Constant Contact, social media, there's a lot of different ways that we could attack this. And so we figured that we would give it a really good try this year to see how it goes. And then if we had to creep back or do something different, we can do that. We're going to do a lot of save the dates, a lot of calendar stuff. We have someone that's very talented in our front office, Krista Massey, who's our administrative assistant to Stephanie Dunn out front, does a lot of that already. And I think that that kind of brought us to where we're coming to with this brochure. And to trade off, because the staff is more important for those programs and the Vicksville Guards and other things that go into that line. And we can give you the more backup to how all that money is being spent and what for, if you required it for later on when you guys need to consult the budget. But we're willing to make a go at it.
If I could also mention, we did try this maybe 15 years ago. It was too early. it was way too early to do it then. I think that the community would be much more receptive to it now. It was definitely too early then, and we pivoted at that point, and we came up with some creative ways when we noticed, and because we're so responsive to, if we notice that we aren't getting the registrations that we need, we can pivot right away, and we can come up with some lower cost alternatives to get something out in the mail. So maybe not the full brochure, but a snapshot and highlight some of the programs. So if we need to, we could adjust, and I think we could pivot quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense to go digital. I think I'm not saying you shouldn't by any means. It's just obviously it can be a transition for some folks. So it sounds like you guys are prepared for that, which is good. And does anyone else before we should probably move on, but does anyone else have questions for John? John, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had one quick question. I noticed the fireworks are in there. Is there anything we should be concerned about with the new field and the fireworks going off, or will they be moved to a different area? Or
That's a great question.
No, not that, not from what my understanding is of the location. They have a couple of options of where they shoot them off this year. You know, it looks like, and they're preparing to have the fall festival at the same location as it was last year. But you know, you're talking about in the future for the following fall festival.
yeah, well, because I mean, we're putting a lot of money into that field, and plus, you know, you have the pool. I just don't want to cause any damage from fireworks. So
yeah, no, I mean, it was part of the planning process for sure that, you know, we've done that historically, and at the location that they were planning to shoot them off. I think the plan, once things shift over to Bartram South, when that's online, of course, is to move the fireworks launch area to a different area from where it was historically, because obviously that'd be closer to where the band shell is. So I think it's a little further away from the turf field than it is now. But you can certainly follow up and confirm all that.
okay, thanks.
Dave, Bella, go ahead.
Thank you. And just following up on that, just want to make sure the fireworks, the budget for the fireworks, is this the same as last year? Because I know want to make sure that the chamber is the chamber getting the same, you know, we're working with the chamber on the fireworks. Is this the same setup that we had last year?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So they're getting, and then what do they fundraise for more of it? I mean, what's the ultimate cost of fireworks? Is this half of it? What's the?
My understanding is that's the full cost.
Yeah.
That's the full cost of the fireworks. We split the insurance, which is
Okay.
$600.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right. If there's nothing more there, we probably move to the community pool next, and I'll just orient you a little bit, especially for the folks first time through. The pool budget line by line will be on page 180. Really starts in earnest on 181. Note that the pool is a special revenue fund, so it's not directly paid for from the operating budget. In the rec budget, there is a pool subsidy, which makes up for the difference between revenues collected and the overall expenditure budget. That number has been decreasing in recent years due to some of the great success on the revenue side, particularly the pool's been experiencing over the last couple of years, coming out of COVID and with a lot of things in place. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the expenditure items too, but just also in the vertical book, and I know I hate to have you go between two, but there is a chart on page 128. If you really want to get into the details of the revenue report, and it really shows the fund balance over the last few years. Again, results of surplus in a perfect world from all of the revenues collected, including the town subsidy and the expenditure results for that year. And again, you'll see starting in fiscal 22, a significant fund balance that we've been able to sort of draw upon a little bit as we budgeted both last year's budget, of course, fiscal 24's budget, and then as we talk about going forward here. So the subsidy for this year's budget is at $304,000. Again, that's significantly down from where it was when I started here and over the last few years. 2018, 2019, 2020. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to Sheila. She's going to walk through the budget document back to page 181, but maybe give any summary. Oh, but yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot slideshow. Yeah, go ahead. We'll do a quick slideshow through the pool to orient everybody, and then happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, that's just the staff chart. Employees, as you can see, the majority of our employee line is my part-time line item, but that has to do with the number of staff that I have to be able to make sure that, you know, everything's safe and well guarded at the facility. We do swim lessons, obviously. Right now, to date, right now, we have brought in almost $215,000 in swim lessons for this fiscal year. I have over 400 kids in each session of swim lessons and they're 6-week sessions. We have the swim teams in there. We're doing CIAC swim meets, all those types of things are happening. We do birthday parties. Scuba uses our pool. We have underwater hockey Sunday mornings. If anybody wants to go and check it out, it's actually kind of cool to watch. Special events that we do at the pool. We do a pumpkin dunkin'. At Halloween, we do swim with Santa. There's our pumpkin dunkin'. Kids love it. We throw pumpkins in the pool. They go in, they swim, they get their pumpkin, and they bring it over and they get to decorate it. Swim with Santa. We have the kids go in the water. They get their picture taken underwater with Santa. Another very popular event that the kids love to do. Okay, and then we do an Easter egg hunt. It's in the water, obviously. And once again, very popular, very successful. So splash pad, I know that this is something that you know, we're going to be looking at obviously within the next couple of months. And the biggest thing is, the concern is, what are we going to charge people to use a splash pad? Because I know there's been a lot of talk with people who live in the town that they feel that it should be free. Unfortunately, that would be really difficult for us to have the splash pad free, seeing it's going to be right on the pool property, and they'll have access to the pools as well. So the big thing is right now is trying to come up with a way that will make it so that the people that would like it free, that it's not costing as much, that type of thing. So what we're talking about is, when the splash pad opens, going to do a $3 a day pass for the Cheshire youth. We would charge the same for non-residents that come in, at least for the opening, and then look at it and see, did it affect our revenue? Did it make our revenue better? Because more people are going to come in and pay the $3 as opposed to the $6. So that is something that we're looking at. It's a really difficult thing. I don't know if anybody's ever been at the pool in the summertime. We can have enormous crowds in there, and for my staff to try to monitor, okay, who's got a wristband on for the splash pad? Who's got a wristband on for the pool? Who's got this? Who's got that? It's just we have to come up with a fee that will accommodate everybody and make everybody want to come in and use the facility.
So if I could just jump in real quick, and Sheila explained it really well, but just to orient everybody, the current Cheshire resident day pass is for youth is $6. It's $8 for adults.
Correct.
It's free for spectators.
Correct.
Non-swimmers. And then the non-resident rates
Is $9 for children and $13 for adults.
is $9 for children and $13 for adults. So again, our proposal here, again, recognizing the town's commitment, the taxpayers' commitment to the splash pad, what we'd like to see is, once that's ready to go, really for next year, proposing cutting that youth fee in half. So those folks maybe a little closer to maybe an impulse, maybe it's a hot summer day and they're over at the playground at Bartlum and they see the splash pad and they think, wouldn't it be fun to go over there? This way, Cheshire residents can go over for just $3 a day per kid. Again, if the adult's not going in the splash pad, they don't have to pay the $8. If we think it makes it a little more affordable and probably generates and responds to the excitement we anticipate once the splash pad is there. And as Sheila said really well, it's a balance. I know early on, I think when I was first proposing the splash pad, I talked about different colored wristbands and maybe a way to make a different access. It's just too complicated, and it's too hard for the staff to manage and maintain and track different colored wristbands in any reasonable way. So that's the much simpler and I think good idea that Sheila had. And I fully support lowering that. And as Sheila also said, we may well see revenue go up, certainly with the excitement of the splash pad, even though we're reducing the day pass. And yes, those kids are welcome to go use the pool and the rest of the facility, even if they were first coming to the splash pad. Thank you, Sheila.
Hey, Jim?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Go ahead, John.
I'm just confused. Could you explain it again? I don't think so they're coming in as they're going to the pool, but then they're allowed to go to the splash pad, but then they're paying a different fee, but they're still allowed to use the pool, Sean?
No, it would just be one fee. So right now it's $6 for a youth to go in and use the pool for Cheshire residents.
Yes.
And what we're proposing to do is make it $3 a day. They get to come in, they get to use the entire facility.
Right.
There would not be a different fee, because what we were trying to do is figure out if there could be a different fee, but it is just too impossible to do. So coming up with a fee that would make it comfortable for everybody. I know that people will still gripe and want it to be free, but with it being on the pool property, that's like an impossible thing to do.
So you'll still control it at the entrance to the pool, but you're going to reduce the fee for everyone.
Right. Yeah. Think about it as just an additional pool amenity. And then related to that, we're just lowering the Cheshire resident youth rate in half. Again, that number we could move around. You could make it $4. You can make it $1. We think 3 is a nice sort of balance. And we have to worry about crowd numbers. And it's a little harder to kind of pinpoint. We anticipate this is going to be incredibly popular. It's going to be popular with birthday parties, which is another huge revenue generator for Sheila's operation. And the rest of the size of the pool.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just didn't understand what you were saying. Now I understand. Okay.
Can I just add something here? I would suggest perhaps, if a family is bringing their kid every day for a week, it could get expensive. Having a seasonal pass or weekly pass or family pass.
So we do have a seasonal pass. We do have a seasonal pass that people can buy for just the summer.
That will include the splash pad.
Yes, yeah, we would include everything. So
what if they just want to use a splash pad though?
We can't do that. If we have it, so okay, all we want to do is come in and use a splash pad, unless I'm going to hire additional staff to stand at that splash pad and say, "Oop, you're only here for the splash pad. You can't go over and use the pool." It's just not something that is feasible for it to be done.
So I'm confused. And so we're not going to allow people to just use the splash pad then?
If they come in and pay the $3, they can use just a splash pad if that's what they want to do. I'm not going to tell them
Well, that's what I was talking about.
Right? But they're going to pay the same rate as somebody who's coming in and using the entire facility.
Oh, so it's $3 to use the pool or the splash pad?
Correct.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Restrooms, locker rooms.
Right, locker room, the whole facility. There's only one point of entry through the lobby. You pay at the front, or you show your season pass.
Right.
You use the same lockers. You use the same bathroom facilities. You can go in the pool. You can go on the inflatables. You can go to the splash pad. So what we're basically saying is, rather than keep our rates the same, our proposal will be for that first year, responding to the excitement of the splash pad and trying to generate some additional excitement. We think it would be a good idea to lower the rate for Cheshire residents. That's really all. There's no difference. There's no splash pad only or pool only rate. It's just the facility itself, because it's inside the fence of the facility.
But just to clarify though, there will be somebody monitoring that while people are in there, correct? Or
I don't know that it really needs to be monitored. I've never been to a splash pad that is monitored.
Not usually. It's not. Typical.
Yeah. It's like our kiddie, the kiddie pool that we have at the pool. There's a sign up that says parents must be in here with your child. There's no lifeguards. We don't lifeguard the kiddie pool. We lifeguard the main pool.
And most splash pads are out. Those that aren't associated with the facility are just free and open like a playground. They're just a playground with water features.
Okay.
It's going to be there's going to be very little water. It's not like there's a pool attached to it or anything like that. Huh?
There's no standing.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about somebody drowning in there. I'm more concerned about somebody doing something they shouldn't be doing there. Like, who knows what they'll be doing? Kids are kids, and they, if they're not being properly watched by their parents, unfortunately, you know how that is. And
yes,
I just get worried that some damage could happen or somebody can get hurt or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. To that effect, because it's a significant investment too. We have cameras at the pool. monitoring the pool deck and other things that we can always replay if there's an incident or anything else. I would fully anticipate we'd have a camera, set up to cover the splash pad area. That would be a very low cost event. But not unlike any of our other playgrounds across town, there's no town staff monitoring the use of a playground. It's a public open space.
I can't really see everybody on the screen necessarily, so if someone has a question, please just call out.
Can you just clarify? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jim.
Go ahead,
Can-
Dean.
Can you just clarify that the plan is to have spectators still be free, even with the reduced introductory price?
Yes, if they are not going in the water, they do not have to pay.
Thank you.
Yep.
So Sheila, it's not very often that we look through the book or we hear prices or costs going down, but our subsidy going down is nice to see. Obviously, you guys are very busy there. One specific question I did have had to do with just the fact that we did have in 2023, this is probably for Sean maybe, but our cost for gas was 151,000, but now it's down to 110,000. Is that have we installed a new, have we upgraded the heating system or something recently that's made it much more efficient, or are we just having a better contract rate?
That would be, right?
Yeah, so I think one of the items you'll see, and Jim can jump in on this a little bit, but one of the challenges we faced over the last handful of months, and I've reported this before, we have the high efficiency boiler called the Lochinvar boiler that was installed as part of the energy performance contract. I think I mentioned before, unfortunately, that product was then discontinued very soon after it was actually installed at Cheshire at the pool. Not the brand Lochinvar, very reputable. That model was not apparently a very
It's not a very good model.
not a good one for them. It ties into the or it not running means that the cogeneration unit, which is a natural gas fired electricity generator that's outside the pool, that was installed at the Energy Commission's recommendation 3 or 4 years ago at this point, and helps offset, both generates heat to help heat the facility in the pool, but also generates electricity, keep our electricity use down pretty dramatically when it's working. So now that the Lochinvar boiler is down, and again, John can probably also jump into this. I know he's learned a lot about boilers over the last handful of months. Unfortunately, that whole system, as we've unpacked the failing of that boiler, we've learned that it was also undersized, we believe, from the beginning. We have a consultant selected to help redesign the boiler system, and ultimately, once that's running again, the cogen unit should be running again. But right now, we're experiencing significant overages in our electricity line. They don't show there in the expected, but we are trending, and Jim's been tracking some pretty significant overages in electricity this year that will be eating a little bit into the reserves that we have unless things get back online sooner. It doesn't look like that's going to be solved in a matter of months, because they have to redesign the whole system, and there are lead times on those. So it's not all great news. But in answer to your question, yes, there's a trade-off between when it's down, we use more gas, or when it's working, we're using more gas for the cogen unit. When it's down, we're using less. So there's a little bit of an offset between the natural gas, and the electricity. But when it's working, it's saving in both. Well, it's saving predominantly in the electricity area.
So going forward, we should get back on a more normal track with the gas consumption. Once that cogen unit is up and working.
Right, but we'll see, and you'll see in the capital budget a proposal for the boiler replacement, which again probably won't talk about tonight. But when we take up capital in the next few weeks and into May, we'll get a little more detail on that. But as we said, sort of budgeting for a normal year, unfortunately, my confidence that we're going to start July 1st with the normal year is waning, as we don't yet have a designed boiler solution for this undersized unit.
And there could be overages this year in that line item, in the gas line item, which aren't shown in that budget projection at this point. but it's trending over as we speak.
All right. Well, I was hoping for a good story there, but thanks anyway.
I wish. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. But if we can get it sized correctly, which it wasn't when it was first installed, and we can get a new unit there that's more reliable. Because this failed also about 12 to 18 months ago.
It
Wow.
is, we have had, since that Lochinvar went in, we have had more problems with it than anything.
Right. So just to be clear, what
Issues
happens?
with it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what that reminded me. That just so what's clear is we obviously still have to heat the facility, heat the water. It kicks back to the old, but reliable, well McLean.
Yeah, that guzzles a lot of gas.
Guzzles a lot of gas, but does remain in function and is much older than the Lochinvar. But so there's still a backup, but unfortunately the backup is just much more expensive.
Right.
Right. Okay. All righty. Any more questions for Sheila?
I don't know, yeah, maybe some more slides.
Couple more slides.
And we'll
Oh, okay.
So lifeguarding is not easy. As it says there, we have on average 2 rescues a week. Everybody thinks, well, do you ever save anybody? Yeah, we do. That's what we're supposed to do. And we have people that come in and jump off the diving board and say, I didn't realize this water was deep. We have to jump in and save them. Due to that, my part-time line item has gone up significantly from this year to next year, and it is because of the fact of the minimum wage increases, and I keep the guards at $2 over minimum wage because of what they have to do. They have to get certified. It costs at least $200 to do it. They have to recertify every 2 years. They have to participate in weekly and monthly in-services. These are all my things that I asked them to do. They walk in the door and they are responsible for people's lives. They are considered first responders. They are trained like first responders. Everything that they go through, the CPR that they learn, is what doctors, paramedics, EMTs, everybody else uses. We are considered first responders. So that is where the part-time line gets to where it is because of what we pay the guards to come in and save and make sure that everybody is safe that comes into the facility. Recent improvements. We replaced the diving boards last June. The front staff and the front door and the staff door entries were replaced. We installed cameras, as Sean alluded to, on the deck, lobby, and the employee area, and we did minor repairs. Needed improvements. Deck resurfacing. The boiler obviously needs to be replaced. We're having an issue with the roof in the lobby. And we are going to have to replace the sand in the laterals and the filter probably within the next 2 years or so. And then the parking lot definitely needs to be repaved. That is what the deck looks like. That's where the joints are all coming apart. And it is to the point now where this needs to be done sooner rather than later. I know it was in the capital budget for last year and we had the money appropriated for it, but I know that we've been sitting on that to make sure that we don't need that money for some of the other things that are going on at the pool. But this is something that needs to be done. That's the Lochinvar boiler and what it looks like now. And that picture pretty much says it all. Those are the buckets that we have to have in the lobby when it is raining because of the water that comes in. That is also something I know that it had been put in, I think, 2 years out for a capital budget. I'm hoping that we can get it done sooner than that because there's a lot of issues with that and I won't go into it all, but it's just something that I feel, I don't think that looks really good when the public walks in and they see buckets all over the lobby. And that's it.
Sheila, on the deck project, when and if we do that, I guess, how long of a project would that be? Do we know yet or not really?
So if we do it in one shot and have people come in, I've been told it's probably about 2 to 3 weeks that it would take them to come in and do it. So we would have to be shut down for those 2 to 3 weeks. A couple of companies that I've talked to said that they could come in and do it in stages and set up things so that we would not have to close down, but that would take a couple of months possibly to do. So we haven't really, I had one company that I talked to and one solution that we have to it that is actually coming in to do some work for me tomorrow and next week on an issue that we have on the wall in the locker room. And he is the one that said that he can do it in stages. So it really depends on what we decide to do, whether we want to shut down, have them come in, get it done in 2 weeks, or have it be a project that's going on with the public in there.
Right. Okay. Anyone know? I see Dave, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Obviously, the pool, the project that never stops giving, right? When it comes to projects. So, are some of these? I mean, obviously, you said we budgeted for the deck work last year, and we're working on that. I can't remember. Was that something that we're in? I mean, I know we have to do it, right? But is it timely in the sense that did what was there last as long as we thought it was going to? I can't remember when we had that discussion last year. So
yeah, so nothing has been done to this deck in the 22 years that the pool has been open. So
okay,
that's 22 years worth of water being on it and everything else. So it is. Yeah,
so it's that part's due, and that's good. Okay, that's good to know. I guess my question is and Sean, maybe you remember this. I vaguely remember either last year or 2 years ago. I thought there was something in that, in the front hallway there, in the front entranceway, there was something with the roof, and we had to do some work with that already. Am I remembering that correctly?
This is the same thing. This roof has been an issue for the last couple of years. So
okay,
yes.
so it's okay. It's still the same problem. It just has to get fixed. Okay, I thought that there had been a problem. I wonder if it had been fixed, and now we're having the same problem. It's just the same problem. Okay, great, thank you. I just wanted wanted to make sure that how these things are coming together and making sure that we're, are these repetitive issues? Are these things that just, you solve one problem and something else comes up, but these are just things that still have to be fixed. So thank you.
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the roof as well. I just wasn't sure. I agree with you, Sheila. We should not have buckets in the lobby of our pool. It just doesn't look appropriate, and I think that's kind of a priority that we need to get fixed before it gets worse. I did have a question for Sean. I saw you increase the revenues by 100,000 on that. Is that mainly for you expecting that extra just for the splash pad, or you went from 1.1 million to 1.2 million? The estimated was 1.1, and you pushed it up to 1.2.
That's in total, Sean.
Yeah, that's the grand. So are you on page 128?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just noticing that. I mean, I guess you pushed it up a little bit.
Yeah, so that's where it's probably useful to go through 128, page 128. Pool fees is up $50,000. Okay, so, and I say up over the 24 appropriation. So if you, that's on that horizontal page on page 128 in the vertical book. We budgeted 725. We're estimating we're going to collect 775. And things are trending very well. Last year we collected 793. See the far left? And so we're budgeting 775. So we're budgeting $50,000 more than we did this year in pool fee revenue. The offsets for that, I held the general fund subsidy exactly flat. It's significantly down. You'll see it was 487 in 2023. So that's still down the same roughly $80,000 that we enjoyed last year, holding that flat as a reduction from where it was in 23 for 25. And then the balance is made up of a use of the pool fund equity. Again, last year we're only estimating to need to use 27,000. This year we budgeted for 100,000, but that's based on that favorable fee experience. And we're budgeting 127. If you look at the bottom there, just like our overall general fund does, the pool as a special revenue fund, just like the Water Pollution Control Department, it maintains its own unassigned fund balance. And so after the estimate for 127 there for fiscal 25, that estimate at the bottom for fiscal year ending June 30 of 2025, we would still have, under the town manager's recommendation, $203,000 in the fund balance. So that's kind of the mechanics of all of the three main revenue items for the pool. So I'm not increasing the fees by 100,000. It's actually 50, but it's actually true or flat roughly with what we're expecting this year.
Okay, yeah, no, I see that. Okay. One other thing, she had mentioned about the parking lot.
Yes.
Is anything gonna? Because I know we're adding to that parking lot for the new Bartlum. I mean, is that something that we should look at when we're doing the paving or doing the?
So if you flip to page on that same book that you're looking at, you flip to page 241, you'll see a summary of the Park and Rec capital items, and there's a proposal in the first year for $155,000 to pave the pool parking lot.
Okay.
The detailed sheet for that is about 5 or 6 pages later. Yeah, page 247. So
yeah, I wasn't sure if I mean,
yeah.
if we're gonna have the people out there paving anyway.
Well, it's
It might be a little cheaper.
Yep, no, absolutely, and that's the thinking. In fact, you'll see in another spot in the budget, the paving of the access drives to Bartlum Park and the skate park area that John referenced before. Once a lot of the cost of a paving project like that is just getting the crews on site. Once they're mobilized, to your point, it's a great use of, if they're already there to do the access drive and potentially the skate park that John was just referencing, get a new surface there, new asphalt surface. It's much cheaper if they're already there than to bring them specifically for that. And because about a third of the new pool parking lot, maybe a quarter of it, is the new turnaround area and an additional dozen spots or so for Bartlum Park South. Just to your point, we know that's going to look like a beautiful new blacktop. It's going to really stand in stark contrast to the condition of the rest of the pool parking lot. So we, for aesthetic reasons plus practical reasons, we would very much recommend doing it at the same time.
And thank you. One last thing. There's no gate entrance or exit to the splash pad from the outside, is there?
Correct,
Nope.
no.
Just emergency only and staff only.
There's going to be an emergency one though. Yeah.
There still
Okay.
is on the, yeah, there's a driveway there right off that parking lot. That's for emergency access.
Risk, yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Sheila? No? All right, I think we're good. Thank you, Sheila.
You're welcome.
So now we'd be shifting to the newest division of Leisure Services, Park and Recreation, our esteemed Arts Place program. We have Joanne Boyersick here to do a brief presentation and talk through. And again, big things happening, of course, with Arts Place. Big move this year. Opportunity for some little bit of reorganizing, and also very exciting new programming and the new home. So I guess without further ado, I'll turn it to Joanne, and we'll take it from there.
Hi, my name is Joanne Pilarczyk, and I know many of you. I certainly enjoy working for the town and the community of Cheshire, and I want to thank you all too for your work for the town of Cheshire. It's a very exciting time to work here, lots of changes. We are happy to be joined with John and Elizabeth and Sheila, because many of the things we do are the same. I want to thank Karen Fides-Galzo, my administrative assistant, and Elizabeth Main for helping put this together. And as we are in art school, you're going to see a visual presentation tonight. The quotes that you see are from the question, what does Arts Place mean to you, that we ask our students over the last 8 weeks, with one exception. This is a mural that kindergarten and first grade graders did in one Saturday class. A town that supports the arts is a town that supports community values and attracts people. This was a quote from Denise, one of our adult students. Arts Place history and location have changed over the last 33 years. In 1987, we were in that little firehouse next to the new firehouse. and we began offering children's classes in 1991. And when we left there in 2001, we had 250 students in that little firehouse at one point, and I had 2 parking places, and I had the Waverly Inn ready to murder us for people parking in their lot. In 2001, the town manager created a fine arts department, the first in the state and still the only in the state. So the town became an owner of a freestanding fine arts school. A large part of that was because of our revenue. Our revenue has always increased, and in the last few years, we bring in about $125,000 yearly. I think right now, since July 1st, we're up to about $80,000. Surrounding towns envy us. We're well known to the Connecticut Office of the Arts because we are the only town. So we're a draw for Cheshire. And the most important thing to know about Arts Place is you don't have to know how to draw or paint to take a class here. You just need to show up. And our talented teachers will do the rest. We are very excited, and we thank you for the opportunity for this move to Wollonsocket Arts on West Main Street. Chemotherapy helped me survive, but it was this art class that really helped me live. I would be lost without it. The artwork you see in this presentation were simply snapshots that I took walking through our classes. Many are unfinished. Students make incredible friendships and connections in our classes and often stay there for years. We were excited to say yes to the request to move to Wollonsocket, and we've spent the last 24 months in preparation by downsizing and reorganizing materials. And here are some photos of what the process looks like. Packing and organizing was accomplished during continually running classes with an average of 250 weekly students. And we have been working with volunteers from our committee and the Friends of Arts Place. I won't be reading the quotes. I hope you'll find time to later. The classes are split equally between children and teen and adults. Running an art school is not a luxury. It's what makes Cheshire different. Desirable, it makes it a destination. Homeowners and renters alike view it as an investment. And it also provides a portion of a living wage for artists who as gig workers don't have health care or other benefits. In the fall of 2021, a monetization survey results showed that adult non-residents spent $10,000 weekly in Cheshire businesses before and after their trips to Arts Place for a class. Non-residents are about 45% of our students, and they pay an additional fee to attend, the same as with parks and pool offerings. But there's not much shopping available around 1220 Waterbury Road. Yet it's still evident that the students that travel to our art classes take care of errands at local stores, and they shop and dine here. This survey will be repeated after our West Main Street move, and there's going to be many more options nearby, next door, and downstairs. In the midst of our move, we transitioned and learned a new database, myrec.com, allowing easier registration and shared access, as John said, to programs offered by Park and Rec, the Yellow House and Pool. And if you haven't visited, you could check out artsplacecheshireCT.org for a direct link to myrec.com to set up your household account. The fine arts budget is very reasonable for a school's operation. You can see the budget increase for fiscal year 25 primarily from the rental fee we'll be paying at Wollonsocket and the cost of a new staff position. Budgeted at 35 hours a week, I am the only full-time position. The fiscal 25 budget changes this unsupportable dilemma by adding 3 hours to the current administrative assistant's role and adding a much-needed additional staff person in a new administrative assistant position. This additional position will allow Arts Place to be open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and every other Sunday. We need to meet the demand for additional evening and weekend programming and arts experiences. Tasks such as website updates, program creation and promotion, database registration, spreadsheets, invoice development, and payroll entry will all be shared. Someone with technological experience is essential. I can then use my time to do what I do best, dream up new programs, hire new teaching talent, and explain workshops. You've invested in procuring a long-term lease and remodeling our new home above Sweet Claws. Operating successfully in our new historic location requires this staff expansion. Did I mention that the majority of our art programs at Arts Place include supplies? The bottom photo, or the one on the right, shows our very organized supply room. Arts Place offers children's programs during the day for homeschool students from many different towns. We are proud to provide classes, workshops, and camps for all ages, with caring, fine instructors, offering programs that promote art techniques that foster new friendships. We also develop and offer a wide variety of workshops for non-artists in stained glass, basket making, ice dyeing, floral design, printmaking, and more. We offer classes to allow scouts to achieve their badges in art. We offer workshops by famous artists that attract students from states outside Connecticut, bringing revenue to hotels and restaurants for weekend or week-long retreats. Arts Place and CPFA have developed long-running community outreach programs such as the annual author event that's been running for 20 years. The Art Market, which is a unique shopping experience and supports local and Arts Place artists. And the CPFA committee chooses artists for the monthly art shows at the Cheshire Public Library. We recently also hosted the Assembly Line Collage Project with Ball and Socket. Our Friends of CPFA Arts Place is a 501c3 organization, and they've provided incredible support over the years and sponsor Art Heals. Art Heals provides free art lessons to adult homebound residents. This group is also providing the John Frederick Kinsit children's book to all third graders in town. We've co-sponsored with Cheshire Library, Parks and Rec, and Chamber many programs, including the Scarecrows Are Coming to Town, the Halloween Bash at Mixville. We participate in community events such as Career Day at Cheshire High School, the Fall Festival, the Home Health and Garden Show, and also host employee professional development days for town staff whenever possible. And we would like to offer the same stress-free workshop to the town council. The CPFA committee is proud to award 2 Richard W. Conrad Memorial $1,000 scholarships to graduating seniors who reside in Cheshire and are committed to studying majors from any variety of arts education in college. In the end, it's not what you dream about, it's what you actually do with those dreams. And I have exciting news about a new show going up tonight at the library's Mary Baldwin Room called Before and After Arts Place, and I just learned of it. The show is by one of our adult students, and I'm sure you're going to recognize her name and the role she plays for her town when you visit. The artwork there is represented from age 14 to present and shows an interesting transition. She explained to me that you can make art on your own, or you can just take a class at Arts Place and experience some magic that your teachers provide to each student. She wanted to have this exhibit to show people the possibility. I was thrilled. As I said, we are school. We allow no art shaming at Arts Place. Differences are appreciated. Techniques are all shared, and I mean it, everybody is friendly. Finally, I found this copy of a student's piece in the shed as we packed to move. It was done by Shannon Talbot, Arnett's daughter, in a class at our first location on Maple Avenue. This shoe represents our march to existence and now to West Main Street. Thank you.
So for budget purposes, and thank you, Joanne, page 167 of the horizontal book is the line item detail for the Arts Place move. She highlighted the really only major changes being the addition of the rent that we agreed to pay to be in the ball and soccer facility, and then the added staff position for the expanded availability of days and hours. And although she didn't say it, I think a reflection of the fact that Joanne, as director, has always gone above and beyond, really beyond, in many cases, the call of duty with respect to making everything work for Arts Place. And I think having that additional administrative assistant position is really critical to staffing the facility, but also allowing her to focus on bigger picture program development and everything else that goes on to a successful arts place. So happy to turn it over for any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Joanne. I'm pretty sure that any artwork that I did would probably challenge the no shaming policy you guys have, but it would take a lot of classes for me to get to the no shame part, I think. But John, go ahead if you have a question.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the town council painting session. So
I'm ready.
Name of the day.
thank you, Joanne, for everything you're doing. I've had the opportunity to see some of the work that's been going on, and it's great to see that this town has so much talent. It's obviously not right here, but it's out there. There's a lot of talent out there. I'm assuming when the move, I can't remember if we built in new furniture. Is that part of the new move, or will they be using the existing furniture? Because I saw you have $0 for any kind of office furniture or anything. So I wasn't sure if that was kind of built into the build out.
We are going to move in with our old furniture, but we were able to encumber some funds from my budget last year that will go towards the new tables. I'm not going to order new tables until I'm in the space because I need to get the exact right size to allow as many people as possible in the class.
So
You don't see it
so
in the
you
budget.
have
It's
you have
there.
leftover budget from last year. Okay.
Yeah, when we, as part of the surplus last year, and at June 30, we made sure to encumber some funds that we had available, as Joanne said, so that we don't have to hit the following year's budget. So it's
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you don't want to be moving into a brand new space and then putting dirty old furniture in there either. So I'm glad we're doing that. So thank you.
we are creative, as anything they do is creative, but we are creatively using some of our existing furniture. We're certainly not replacing everything, but they have some great ideas for, especially storage is going to be a little more creative there. But they're reusing a lot of our shelving and storage and other racks that they use to set up for different classes. So there's nothing going to waste, and there's a lot of thought going on behind what does come over. But absolutely sensitive to wanting to make sure it looks brand new in all the important public facing parts too.
All right. Well, just one thing, the garage next to Art's Place, so that stores a lot of props and stuff, that's going to remain storing props and stuff?
It's going to change a bit. Tomorrow, John and I are going to go look at it. There are 4 trailers there. I'm going to rename one trailer Purgatory. And things that we're not sure if we're going to keep or not are going to be temporarily stored in Purgatory. And at the end of the year, if they're not used, we'll pass them on. That includes 7 metal cabinets. Those metal cabinets will hold other supplies because we don't have quite enough space to move everything, or nor do we want to. You know, we had 5 supply rooms at Art's Place. That was too many. I'm tired of looking in 5 places for things. And we have been going through all of our items and carefully dividing them up into what we're keeping. So we'll see if we'll need it to come out of Purgatory in the following year. But John's going to go over, we're going to meet with Dana Sachs, who's the set shop manager. Public Works has agreed to move some of the items that are in that set shop to the 3 other trailers so that we'll have an empty trailer. Then we can move our 120 metal folding chairs, my 7 metal cabinets, the tables, things like that, that I won't be moving upstairs in Ball and Socket.
All right. May I just make one suggestion for the old gas station, I guess, thing? If we can just put some kind of covering on the windows. I got George to paint it a few years back, but I still hear from people saying it looks like a junk house, and because you can see into the windows and just see a pile of stuff in there. I mean, if there's some way we can clean it up a little bit to make it look a little nicer.
I think that's a
I'd
great idea.
appreciate that.
We have all the sets, so we could just pull over Wizard of Oz backdrop or Aladdin, and you would see that through, and it would look alive.
That'll be great.
It would be great.
Paint the windows every month.
That's right. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Joanne, so the you're proposing adding an admin assistant and also two building supervisors. How much, and if you don't have the answer right now, it's totally fine, but how much of the additional programming do you think is gonna cover those additional positions?
So Jim, just to clarify, when you say two building supervisors, you're looking at, you're looking up above on page 166?
Yeah, sorry, yep.
Yeah, so maybe a little misleading there. The number of building supervisors, if you look at the full-time equivalent, that main number can fluctuate, but the full-time equivalence is just a little bit more. That's the number of actual person hours that are in the positions. If you look down to page 167, you'll see the line for TPT is actually down, temporary part-time positions. That's your building supervisors, your clerk position, and costume shop manager sort of stipend, so to speak. Those are actually been reduced as an offset in part to some of the new position you see up above at $40,000, because that person will be able to take over some building supervisor and clerk type responsibilities as the facility is being operated.
Okay.
And then, but to your other question, we did, and again, a lot of this is a work in progress as we see the final spaces being completed here in the next few weeks. But with the expanded offering of programs, the Fridays and the alternating Sundays, everything you talked about, we did increase, we don't have to do it right now, but we did increase the revenue assumptions for Arts Place. And I can get you the exact number back in the full book. But to your point, we are anticipating sort of challenging Joanne and her staff to generate the revenue to offset a significant portion of that increase. And so if you want to, we can do it. But if you go back to the vertical book under revenues, you will see an increase in the expected revenue.
It's $65,000, Sean.
Thank you very much. There you go. So that's the goal. And we're hoping with the added excitement, taking a hard look at our fees, particularly our non-resident fees, and then those expanded days of offerings that, again, sort of putting the challenge out there to generate the additional $65,000 and hopefully offset, again, a large portion of this increase you see in the Arts Place budget.
We know everybody's going to come. They're all going to want to check it out. So we're devising new programs for the people that would consider themselves non-artists. Now, I called Arnett a week or two ago because once we saw that we weren't moving April 15th, I asked her if I could go ahead and run 3 weeks of adult classes. And so the 3 weeks of adult classes are bringing in $6,600 this April because we didn't move April 15th. That's how much it fast people are so anxious to take our classes. So we have 86 adults and 9 classes bringing in that much money in 3 weeks. So no, I'm not worried about revenue.
Okay. Thanks. And what is the current move-in date?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that we had a walkthrough yesterday, or no, day before yesterday, and we were up until that we were hoping it was still mid to late April. The new target date is May 15th, according to the folks that we've met with at Ball and Socket in terms of the current status of the movement.
And we will be ready. We're packing around all of these art classes that are running, and it's very organized. I'm proud to say. Thank you, Karen DiScalzo again.
Sorry, Dave, did you have a question? I think I might have interrupted you.
No. You asked the same question I was. If it's not April 15th, what is the estimated date? So thank you.
Right. Okay. John, go ahead. You're on mute, John.
I'm sorry. Sean, the rent that's in the budget, is that a full year's rent, a full fiscal year rent, or is that a portion of the rent?
That's a full year, including the CAM charges, the common area charges. It's a full year because we have no expectation we wouldn't be in by July 1st. So it's a July 1st to June 30 budget cost.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Go ahead, Dean.
So I just had a question about line item 5207 printing, where it lists inclusion in Park and Rec's program book. And if the program book is not going to be printed and potentially online, is that potentially a
Yes,
opportunity for savings there?
that's correct.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else for questions for Joanne? Very good. I think we're all set. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, thank you.
All good. All right, so Jim, I think it's all right with you. I see Jamie Lemare is on here. I know we have human resources, so I'd like to take that up if that's all right, and then we can hopefully maybe very briefly go through town manager, town council, and town attorney. That don't typically take too much time, but take as much time as we need, of course. But I see Jamie on the Zoom, so we'll go from there, and I'll let our recreation folks head out from there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Night.
Guys.
Thank you.
Jamie, when I was listing off all the people that were presenting tonight, I knew I was going to forget someone, so I'm sorry.
Well, I
Sorry,
am, I
forgot.
think, probably the smallest. I'm the smallest department, so I'm easy to forget.
Full pot, I forget human service or human resources.
Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I've been suffering with a little bit of a head cold this week, so I'm gonna give it my best to be as loud as possible, which usually I am loud. So I just thought I would start by introducing myself again. I think I've seen all of you since the elections in November, but for those who don't know much about me, I'm the Director of Human Resources. I started at the end of June in 2023, replacing long-term Director Lou Zullo. I have a legal background. I've worked in private practice in a general practice law firm before entering municipal employment in 2016. I previously served as a corporation counsel for the city of Torrington, as well as the city's HR director. And now I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. Brief overview of the past 9 months. I've spent time reviewing our collective bargaining agreements, our employee rules and regulations, and policies, not only to familiarize and educate myself, but also with an eye on how we can create efficiencies and make updates where needed. We're currently in the process of building an automated payroll system to simplify payroll processing and track employee time and benefits. And we are hoping to pilot this in early 2025 in a few of our departments, including my own and finance. Right, Jim? As you're aware, we've started negotiations with the police union, and we expect to begin negotiations with the dispatchers union soon. In addition, exciting news for me, my office has moved to the first floor of Town Hall to accommodate the new HR generalist. Her name is Kelly Pleel, and she started at the end of February. Kelly has 17 years of municipal HR experience, and she has hit the ground running with organizing the department's files, creating spreadsheets that were much needed. I am many things, but a spreadsheet maker I am not. So I'm really glad to have Kelly. And she's working on other efficiencies, such as keeping track of a master list of applicants, which will help us mine data and show us where we are most successful in finding good candidates and where we should focus our resources in searching for those candidates. Kelly is a great addition to my department, and I am so grateful to have another staff member to provide excellent customer service to our employees and applicants. And so her addition is greatly appreciated, and I thank you all for that. When you look at my budget, you will see that the most significant increase is in line item 5102. And of course, the reason for this increase is due to the addition of the HR generalist position to the department. Her salary is currently $79,000. And since the HR generalist position is a non-exempt position, I've also built in some overtime in the amount of $1,500, which would equate to approximately 35 hours or 1 week of overtime in the upcoming fiscal year. And I would anticipate it's possible that OT may be necessary from time to time since we are in negotiations and there are some projects that can become tedious, such as gathering data for mandated reporting for OSHA, EEOC, US Census, salary surveys, etc. Those have to be filed on an annual basis and sometimes can become very time consuming. In addition to giving me more time to work on policy creation and updates to policies, having the additional help in my department will allow me to focus on recruitment strategies to attract top talent and to develop retention programs to enhance employee satisfaction. It will also allow me to work on succession planning initiatives to ensure continuity and stability in key roles. The other increase in my budget that you will notice is for training, which is line item 5210. An HR department is responsible for complying with state and federal law as they pertain to matters concerning things such as accommodations for disabled employees, medical leave for employees, or an employee's family member has medical issues under FMLA, discrimination and sexual harassment laws, just to name a few. And it's critically important to the organization for HR staff to be aware of changes to laws and how they impact our employees. And this is an important measure, of course, to mitigate potential claims in the employment arena, which is why I believe training is very important. I have also worked in the last 9 months to get some training for our employees. In the late fall, we held training sessions for all employees on sexual harassment prevention. Not only is this required by state law, but it is important to provide this training to educate our employees on the behavior that we expect in the workplace. And as we move into the spring, I'm looking into training sessions for active shooting preparedness, which I know Beth Piezzo just had a great training at the library on this, and also some CPR and AED certification training for our employees, because I believe that investments in training strengthen our capacity to better serve the residents of Cheshire. So those are really the two big ones. As you can see by looking at the budget, there's not too much in our department in the way of expenses. But I would like to say that I thank you for your support and for your time this evening. And I certainly am here to take any questions or any feedback, comments you might have.
If I could just jump in real quick, so apologies, Nina and Jim there. Just want to reiterate, and I know Jamie said it, but I want to thank the council for their support. Really, in the end, this has been something in the works over the last 3 to 4 years, really, as I started here 6 years ago. Sort of surprised to see that Cheshire didn't have a traditional HR department, really any HR department at all. We had a personnel director who was also an assistant town manager, so to speak, in the town manager's office. And I don't need to rehash all of that, especially for those that were here through all of the transition as I moved HR out into its own department. And we supported that with, again, on page 9, sorry, I should have said that earlier, of the horizontal book, its own actual department, a department of 1 last year, and now a department of 2. But for any organization with 260, 275 employees, full-times and part-times, you just are going to have 275 opportunities for personnel challenges or issues or complicated benefit questions. The fact that we were trying to do it with 1, frankly, the fact that we're doing it with 2 is still, I think, pretty remarkable. And I couldn't think of anyone better. Jamie's been phenomenal in this role. She doesn't take anything for granted with what's been done before and in the past. Fresh set of eyes has been incredibly valuable. I know it's caused a lot of agony and stress at times for her as she's worked through things that have been done that we could have done maybe differently or better, and we're making those improvements, and she's not afraid to take those on. So we're in such a better place, I think, than we ever were before, and we're going to see the fruits of that labor over the next couple of years, hopefully with a smoother overall personnel operation and employee morale and all the good stuff. So I just want to say thank you to the council again. Apologies, Jim, and I know Dina better.
Stuff too.
Thank you. Appreciate all that. Yeah, Dina, did you have a question?
So,
I
yes.
just said, Gina, do you have a question? I'm like, I hit a fucking button.
So I had a question. I'm not so sure if I'm looking at the right page. I was on 145 under 5210. I'm not seeing an increase in training expenses, but if I flip over to page 147, training does show a 25% increase. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're talking about, Jamie.
Gina, can you give me those pages again that you were looking at?
I'm on page 145.
On the horizontal?
Yes, the general fund horizontal, page 145, item number 5210 is what I thought.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm talking about on page 9 of the human resources. The training.
Sorry, that's a common. Yeah, we're on human resources on page 9. That's human services. Although very similar in sound and often.
That explains. It was an error on my part.
I field phone calls for them on a regular basis.
Yeah. So we almost need a new name because often I've made the mistake of saying human resources director or human services director because they do sound very, very similar. But yes, no, we're actually, page 9. She was looking at training on line 5210, page 9. It's a new ad. There was nothing in training before. Again, this budget's only 1 year old, so there's a lot of kind of new adds to the budget. You'll see an estimate for the current year of 400. I did support some additional training requests mid-year that Jamie asked for, and the request for next year is for the 1,500 you see in the far right column.
I do see it now. Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
And if I could add one more thing, that there is money in the employee benefits budget, which is on page 52, for medical and safety training and other in-service professional training. So there is also money appropriated in employee benefits, which obviously human resources and Jamie works very closely with that as well.
Don, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw, Sean, you took out the $30,000 she was asking for digitizing personnel files. How many years back do you have to go back to digitize former employees? I don't even know how many years of files you have.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jamie. Yeah. No.
I was going to say we have files going back probably, I would say conservatively 30 to 40 years. We have multiple file cabinets in the basement at Town Hall that contain all of the files of retired or separated employees. And so, it does take up, and I'm very quickly accumulating stacks in my office currently as the police department, people separate from employment, they deliver them to my office to be filed. So,
how far back do you need to save them though? I mean, do you need them 40 years back, or can some of them just be shredded, or?
It's even longer, actually. I think that the rule is some, especially employees, and I can't quote it off the top of my head, maybe actually Arnett probably can, but there's a number of years post the time they were here, and in some cases post the time that they may pass away.
Post-mortem, yeah.
I think it's 40 years.
Yes, I think that's right.
Post-retirement, post-employment.
Right. So you can
maybe we can find a grant like we did for the town clerk to do that too.
That was part of a little bit of my thinking. And yes, at the end of the day, as I go through the budget, I can't approve every request. But knowing also that Jamie and her office have their hands full with cleaning up a lot of our older policies and going through negotiations, I was don't be surprised if that comes back in the future. I think it's a great idea and a great request. I also need to get them a permanent office space home, as we'll talk about that a little bit as some of the office reorganization in this building. But we very much digitizing employee records, just like the building department files and old plans and the town records in the town clerk's office. We fully support it, and it not only improves space, but it's easier to archive and retrieve information. So I'd love to see it back, but it was a little more of a reflection of realistically how much are we going to get done in the next fiscal year with a new effort like that. And also another one that I have out there that I'd like to see us move to an online job recruitment process. This is something I had tasked the last human resources director with for the last couple of years and didn't really get any headway. But I know it's something Jamie would like to take on in the future too. And I think having Kelly on board really helps us move forward with that proposal. But again, that takes a lot of planning and selecting the right firm and then changing. But again, I'll reiterate, we are still a paper-based recruitment operation in 2024 when it comes to job recruitments, and that's just always been kind of amazing to me.
Thank you. Yeah, one more question. You mentioned, we're doing contract negotiations with the police and town. I assume you go to the negotiation meetings, or you're going, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, because I know we haven't had any personnel meetings, but I know in the past, when Sylvia was personnel chair, we made sure a council person got to go and sit in on those meetings, even though they can't say anything. But it did bring a lot of more information to us at times, and kept all the council up to speed. And I'm wondering if that's something that we can try to bring back.
You want me to answer that, Jamie? Ultimately, that has to be agreed to by the union also.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say yes, provided that we could get the union to agree to that.
Right.
Which is not the case with the police union negotiations.
Okay.
It was not agreed to.
No, it's just a thought, because I know that we were part of that, and I just thought it would be nice to have a representative sitting on it too. Thank you.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just be very quick. I just want to thank Jamie. I knew Jamie from past life. She's very competent, serious. We're lucky to have her here. And I couldn't agree with Sean more. He thanked the council, but I want to thank our entire administrative staff for supporting our human resource work, and Jamie for taking on this with such a limited staff. It is an amazing responsibility to do with two people, never mind one person, which you're doing it for a while. So thank you very much. And I know you're capable of doing it, but it's still a big task. So thank you.
Thanks, John. And it's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
All right. I think, are we all set with Jamie, everybody? Any more questions? No? All right. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. I appreciate your consideration. Sean, do you want me to stay on for the remainder of?
If you could just stick around for the next two real quick, and then.
Oh, yes, of course. No, of course.
And then we'll go. So if you're okay, Jim, I know we're respecting time, but we'll, if we have time to just quickly go through town council, town manager, if that's all right, and town attorney. Those are kind of three of the similar area of the budget. Arnett was going to do just a very brief overview of those three, and happy to answer any questions. Town council is the very first budget, as it should be, in the budget, page 1 of the horizontal book. And I don't know, Arnett may share a screen or just walk through it. Oh, there you go.
Yep. I'll based on the fact that the hour is late, and also that most of you have direct experience with these three budgets and this part of the organization, I'll keep it pretty brief. Of course, we'll answer any questions that you have happily, and if we don't know the answers, we will find them. So the town council budget is on detail book, page 2. The request for fiscal 24-25 represents an increase of $6,600, about 14.9%. Those increases can be found in advertising and legal notices, as you're kind of hearing throughout all of the different department presentations. Those costs are going up. The incredibly popular holiday reception that we hold for all boards, commission, committee members, and volunteers. We are requesting an increase for the a 3% increase for the stipend for the clerk of the council because she does an amazing job. The video broadcasting equipment, we need some upgrades. Some of that equipment is past end of life and we need to upgrade that. We're also hoping to get another PECPESHA grant to assist with that, but we need to have some money in that account. And then we're also trying to complete the project where we have all of the frame photos of past councils, council members and chair people up on the wall upstairs and on the 3rd floor. We have some overages, unfortunately, for 23-24, but they're all incredibly good reasons. We've had an increase in the advertising. As we've seen, the holiday reception went a couple $100 over budget. We've had to replace some video broadcast equipment. We have paid most of the framed photo project, and also I'm very excited about this one. We've purchased the tablets for the town council. I'm really looking forward to this streamlining the whole process for you all and to make it easier for you to get the information and look at the information and not have your dining room table with piles and piles of paper on it. So if anyone has any questions on town council, I'd be happy to try to answer them, or I can move along. Okay.
So, Arnett, just one question. So the tablet, you purchased tablets, but came out of last year's budget. I don't understand that.
We already purchased them. They're in this current year's budget. We purchased them and they're currently being, all the software is being uploaded. So we're hoping to have those to you shortly.
Was that budgeted for? Because I didn't.
No, that's
No.
why it's an overage. It was not, it was an additional
Okay.
expense. It was a special expense.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay.
Just out of curiosity, Arnett, on the framing project, which I sort of had heard about. I guess I didn't notice it in last year's budget, but tell us a bit more about what exactly that is.
So the photos that used to be in the back of council chambers were a variety of different sizes, a variety of different frames. They were hung in a manner that meant that you had to take all of them out to put a new one in. Some were missing. So what we've done, and Noelle has been she's really taken the lead on this. We've gathered all of the photos of old councils and past chairs, and they're currently at a framer to frame them so that they will all be the same size. The frames and the mats will be consistent, and then we will I'm not sure exactly where we're going to hang them, but we will be hanging them in a way that's really attractive and easy for the public to look at them. So,
okay. Great.
Especially with all the work that we've had done on the chambers and the lobby, it looks great up there, as it should.
Yeah, the wall looks great.
Important room. Okay. Town manager, detail book 4. This is our budget's pretty simple. Most of it is salary expenses. This fiscal year, next fiscal year, we are requesting an increase of about $17,500. Most of that is in salaries, 27th payroll, longevity awards, that type of thing, and then $950 in non-salaries for some furnishings that we would need. And then this current fiscal year, we are projecting some overages. For those of you who may or may not remember, when we budget, any increase to the town manager's salary is contractual and it is not budgeted. So this happens every year where money is not budgeted and then it is added to the expenditure when the council sets the new contract with the town manager, extends it. And then non-salaries, most of that is because of an ICMA conference that Sean was encouraged to go to and attend, which he did. Any questions on that? Okay. Town attorney. This year, we are looking for an increase of about $71,800. It's a significant increase. excuse me, most of that is for Labor Council because we now have Labor Council and we have all of our labor unions contracts that are being renegotiated. It's going to be a very, very busy year. We also have a little bit of money in there for special counsel and litigation costs. And then for this current fiscal year, again, our overage is fortunately, it's mitigated by net savings in the town attorney line and special counsel and litigation line. But the Labor Council is going to run us projected approximately $50,000 over what we figured for appropriation in this current fiscal year. And a lot of that is because of the union contracts and a lot of union issues and other personnel issues for which advice is needed that have come up as Jamie has done some digging. So any questions on that?
So Arnett, you don't break down the town attorney services by Jeff's services and then our labor council services. You just
I can do that if you want. I can absolutely give you that information if you want it. We have several categories. I think it's in there. We have so we have the town attorney. We'll also have the labor attorney. We have special counsel, and sometimes that includes transcription fees if we have litigation or an issue. And then we also have a hearing officer who hears planning and zoning, parking, blight appeals. That's $3,600 a year. But sure, I'll get you the breakdown.
Others are interested. I'm not that important, but I'd be interested in seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have it separately. We can definitely.
Yeah.
And then Jeff spent a lot of time with the building, the school building. That's separate. That's not in here,
Correct.
Right?
That's being built to the projects.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank goodness. If you come up with any questions later, surely send us an email and we'll get you the information.
Great, thank you.
And I just want to add how happy I am that Jamie is here too. If I could add that. She has also made a lot of our jobs a little bit more easier and a little bit more streamlined. So she's saving money in other areas of the organization. So thanks, Jamie.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
So that's all we had, right?
Yeah, that concludes today's. I think the next item is an executive session item, unless there's any more questions on the budget.
All right. Anyone have any more questions at all for? No. So motion to adjourn. Dina? Second. All in favor? And we're adjourned.
And that, I think you're muted. I think she's turning the stream off.
Sorry. Are we going into executive session?
Yeah, we have to make a motion to go into executive session first, right?
Yeah.
Motion
do, yeah.
to go into executive session with everybody who's on right now.
Jamie doesn't need to
Do
stay.
you need me
Maybe
to
doesn't
stay?
need
Okay.
Jim,
I don't think so, Jamie.
All right. Good
Is
night,
Jeff
everyone.
joining us or no?
Jeff is not tonight. This is just an overview first. And then
Okay.
Good night, everyone. Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jamie.
Take care.
Thank you.
If you're in
Thank you,
town
Jamie.
hall, come and see me. I'm in room 115.